This is the Mojo, the Meaning of Life and Business podcast, where life and business intersect. Hosted by Jennifer Glass, CEO of Business Growth Strategies International and BGSI Coaching. We are dedicated to your success. Hello and welcome to another episode of Mojo, the Meaning of Life and Business. On today's program, we're going to be talking about control. There's a lot of things that we can potentially control in our lives. We can control what we do when we walk down the street. Do we look both ways before we cross the street? We can control the food that we eat. Do we choose to eat healthy or do we choose to not eat healthy? We can choose how much exercise we get. Do we want to exercise today? Do we not want to exercise today? But then there's a lot of things that we can't control. We can't control how the overall economy is doing and what happens outside of our own four corners. We cannot control different pieces of what is actually out there in terms of, is somebody driving erratically? We can control how safe we are as a driver, but we can't control whether or not somebody is going to cut us off. Earlier this week, I was in a situation 4 times where somebody went right in front of me, and I had to take evasive action to avoid getting into an accident. 4 times in one driving trip. We need to be paying attention to the things that we can't control, though. That means that what you need to be doing in your business too is you need to be thinking, what is it that I can really control? What is it that I have direct impact on in my business? I have direct impact on the marketing that I do. I have direct impact on the pricing that I have on my services or my product. I have direct control over how I treat my customers. I have direct control over my team. I don't have control over supply chain issues. I don't have direct control over whether or not my landlord, if I'm renting my space, is going to be increasing my rent. I don't have control over whether or not the town or the city is going to be taking away access to the street with temporary or long-term construction projects. We know in New York City, when they were building the 2 line, the 96th Street area was really crowded with a lot of construction. When they were extending the new Q line, depending what it is that you were doing, could have really impacted your business. Is your foot traffic going to be going down, or is it going to be the same? There's a lot of things that you need to be thinking about what it is that you can be doing. In a recent ruling here in the United States, Roe v. Wade was overturned. You might be thinking, what exactly does Roe v. Wade have anything to do with this podcast and this conversation? In truth, there's a lot that it has to be doing with this conversation. Is it something that you can be controlling? If you have a clinic and you are in charge of dealing with women that are seeking abortion, it does impact you. If you are a woman in search of an abortion, it impacts you. Can you control it? The answer is no. What you can control is, do you support it? Do you not support it? Do you work with people to help increase the change or try to reverse the change? Those are things that you can be doing. Again, as it relates to business, though, you need to be thinking, what is it that you can be doing to really control where you are? We discussed a whole lot of things that are out there in terms of things that you might be able to control. As you're thinking about what it is that you do on a daily basis and those things that you control, You really want to be thinking strategically, though. How will whatever I do today impact whatever I do tomorrow? And how does that control make a difference? For starters, one of the things that I always talk about in my presentations is the 5 things that you can be doing to really be focused in your business, to really be making the biggest difference, because it has 80% of the revenue based on 20% of what you do. That happens. We all know that 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. It's profit, pricing, transactions, conversions, and leads. When you can focus in on those areas and you can control those areas, you are going to be in better position to ultimately figure out what your long-term success is going to look like. In other words, if you take whatever it is that you do and you say, I am going to control my marketing to drive another 10% in the number of leads coming into my site or my business. And if you can control how well you can get people to buy, just adding 10% more people that come into your business and buy, you can now get more sales, more transactions in your business. If you increase the price by 10%, you can now squeeze an additional 10% profit that you are now making. But these are some areas that you can be doing. In life, there's a lot to worry about. As a parent, I'm always worried about my children. I've been asked on different health screeners, how often does the state of whatever worry you? Well, the truth is, again, as a parent, I am worried because I think about my children and how all of those things impact my children. If you're a parent too, you may have a lot of those same concerns. There's a lot, though, that we really have to understand, that we need to take a step back and we need to say, this is not something that I can really control. This is not something that I can realistically say I have any control over, and I have to agree and admit to myself that I need to step back. We need to always be focused on those areas, because if we stress too much over those areas, we know what that does to our bodies. It creates disease. Disease is your body is not at ease. That is the body's response to you being not at ease. We know that many medical issues and all sorts of problems come because of stress. We need a certain amount of stress to be in a position that we can really be doing what it is that we need to do, though. But it is how we manage that stress. And again, what we say we can control and cannot control to really make the difference. So I really want to encourage you today, think about what it is that you are doing. What is the control that you're trying to do? Are you trying to control things because you feel it's going to allow you to do better, to have more hold over whatever a particular situation is? Or is it that you understand that you cannot be doing any more than you are already doing? We looked at a couple of examples that you really can control and those that you can't. Again, if you take the supply chain problems, or you take how much gas costs, there are certain things you can be doing to mitigate those issues. You can be looking at how can you lessen the amount that you're driving. You can look at, if you're a delivery business, how can you team up with other businesses that are delivering in similar areas and use the same delivery courier to get your package to the end user. If you're a supply chain concerned individual, you might want to say, I can better prepare for the holidays at this time. because I know exactly what I am forecasting in terms of sales. Alternatively, you can also be looking at what is it that you're really trying to do in terms of supply chain. Is it that you're trying to control really too much where it's going to ultimately impact you in a negative way? Are you trying to simply hold on to hope that the supply chains are going to go back to normal? One thing that the COVID pandemic has taught us is that we need to be more resilient. We need to understand better how to forecast what it is that we're trying to do. We also need to understand utilizing strategic relationships to help us when we might need to be picking up additional product in the event that we run out of our own inventory. Some businesses are looking to unload the excess inventory that they thought they were going to sell, but that they don't have enough people coming in to buy. We can also say, listen, I don't personally carry it right now because I ran out of it, but this business has it. You create a strategic relationship with that vendor, and maybe they give you 10% of the profit where you send the person over there. You're still getting something from that customer by going to your competition. If we don't look at competition as stealing our lunch, but we look at competition as co-competition, cooperative competition, now it can start making a difference. It can start making sense in terms of ways that we can possibly be looking at it to be making a difference. My challenge to you is think about what it is that you're going to do differently from today on. Are you going to allow control freakism to hit you? Or are you going to allow more of taking it and understanding what you can control and moving it forward from there? The easier that you can be looking at this situation, or the better you can be looking at this situation and understanding the things that are out of your control are simply out of your control, the better you are ultimately going to be long-term. On that note, this has been another episode of Mojo, the meaning of life and business. And until next time, here's to your success. This has been another episode of Mojo, the Meaning of Life and Business podcast. If you like what you heard, please consider leaving us a review, liking us, or reaching out to us. You can contact us at bgsicoaching.com and let us know what you think. Thanks so much again for listening.